Hey guys, how's everything? My name is Tony Musto. I'm the golf teaching professional at New York Country Club. I'm also an adjunct professor of golf at Rockland Community College. Today I've set up a video to talk about basic grip, setup, a stance, ball location. It'll be our first video of many. This is for assignment 331, 2020. So let's start right with it. Let's talk a little bit about the grip. There's three grips that we promote here. There are three basic grips that you can use. What we ask you to do is use the grip that's most comfortable for you. So the first grip would be considered the 10-finger grip or the baseball grip. How that works is all 10 fingers are going to be put on the club at one time. And what you would do is for your top hand, if you're a right-handed player, your top hand will always be your left hand, which is the hand that's most farthest away from the bottom of the club. And what you're going to do is you're going to open your hand up and you're going to lay the club in your palm. And you're going to lay your palm around the club and you put all 5 of your fingers on it, 4 on the bottom, the thumb right on the top. And you can either put the thumb on the top of the grip or you can put it slightly to the right if you feel more comfortable. I like it more on the top, but whatever works for you. And what you're going to do is to make sure that your grip is correct, you're going to turn your club to the outside and you're going to take all your fingers off the club. And just you're going to leave your pointer finger on. And if you notice, that club is kind of resting under the pad of the bottom of my hand. It's not resting under the pad of my thumb. It's kind of locked in under the bottom of my hand. That kind of locks that grip in with your top hand. Now the bottom hand on the 10-finger grip or the baseball grip is going to be laid in the fingers. You don't want to put the bottom hand in the palm of your hand. You want to put it more towards the fingers. You lay the club in your fingers, okay? Make sure your fingers are touching the top hand. You don't want to have any gap there, so make sure they touch. And then you want to just wrap your hand around the club. And if you did it correctly, you'll notice your thumb or your top hand fits nicely in the pocket of your bottom hand, and then your other hand rolls over. And what will happen is you notice you cannot see the thumb of your top hand at all. It's not really visible. And that's kind of what you want. You don't want your hand, your bottom hand on the club where you can see your thumb. You want it to be kind of covered or locked into that pocket. Right? That way the hands work together. They become like one piece. The second grip that you can use is an interlocking grip. Okay, the top hand is going to be placed on the club the same with all three grips. So again, to review, in the palm, wrap your fingers around it, make sure it's locked in there tight under that palm of your pad of your bottom hand, and that's kind of going to be where you're at. Now the interlock grip is, instead of laying all the fingers on the club, we're going to interlock the pointer of my left hand and the pinky of my right hand. We're going to interlock them together, and then we're going to lay the club in the base of the fingers, wrap my fingers around it, and again, the thumb will fit right in this pad of my hand and kind of lock it up there. And again, create a couple of triangles, right? The thumb is locked up in this palm. It's kind of making them work together as one. So that would be your interlock grip. And then your third grip will be the overlap. Again, top hand the same way. Instead of resting all your fingers on the club or interlocking your two fingers, you're just going to take your pinky and you're going to rest it in the gap between your index and your pointer. And you're just going to rest that finger on there. Put the club in your fingers and kind of wrap it around. And again, your thumb is going to fit in the pocket of your hand. Now, if you look at this grip for me a little bit, notice you can see some of my thumb. And the reason being is my fingers are kind of short. So the interlock grip doesn't work well for me. I mean, the overlap grip does not work well for me because I can't get that thumb in the pocket. That's the reason why I choose to use interlock, because I can really get that palm, the thumb in the palm of that hand. If you have longer fingers and you want to go overlap, that's fine too. There is no right or wrong grip. It's whatever's comfortable for you. So find one where your hands are comfortable on the club, and that's the one you use. As far as grip pressure, most of our pros will tell you that most people hold the club way too tight. You want to hold it loosely on a scale of 1 to 3 if 1 is light, or 1 to 10 if 1 is light and 10 is tight. You want to be around 3. You don't want to strangle, okay? You want to hold it on there loose so you can get your hands to react when you swing through the golf. All right? You don't want to hold it so tight it creates a lot of tension in your arms and your wrists. You don't have like any kind of fluid motion to your swing. It's not really what you're looking for. So those are your first 3 grips. Okay, figure out which one works for you. Put your hands on there comfortably, and Let's talk a little bit about ball location. Ball location, I find, is one of the most important things when you're talking about how to hit a golf ball on the target line. Most people move the ball in their stance a little bit. They've been taught that way, or they read books where they got the ball to move around to create different shots. I'm not a big fan of that. I like to have a constant ball position. I try to keep the ball in the same position with every club, and I let the length of the club and the loft of the club determine how far and high the ball goes. So I'm trying to make the same swing with each and every club, letting the manufacturer, who's taken a lot of time to figure out what loft to use and what length to use and what flex to use, let that determine where the ball goes. I just want to make the same move at it every single time. So let's talk a little bit about ball location. I'm going to suggest that you play the ball up towards your front foot as opposed to being in the middle of your feet or towards your back foot. And I'm going to suggest you do that with every club in the bag. Don't want you to move the ball around at all. You can move the width of your stance, but let's leave the ball in the same position. And the reason why I kind of promote this is the swing is a circle. And what happens is when you make a swing, at some point in the golf swing, the club is going to be at its lowest point. And that lowest point is going to be where it touches the ground. So you want the ball to be in that corresponding spot as to where the club touches the ground. Also, since it is a circle, at some point that club is going to be straight to the target line. Like if I hit a ball that's played back here, right, that ball is going to traditionally go to the right because the club hasn't really gotten straight and hasn't facing the target line yet. And if I play a ball way too far up towards my front foot, the club would have already gotten straight to the target, but when it actually makes contact with the ball, it's going to face the left. So you're going to get a lot of dispersion in the ball moving right or left when you hit it based on where you play it in your feet. So let's keep it in a spot where the club's going to have the best chance of coming into the ball straight, okay, to hit the ball straight. So how do we get that? It's pretty simple. My suggestion is you put your feet together, okay? Keep the ball in the middle of your stance, in the middle of your feet. Move your front foot 3 inches towards the target. Now, if you're having a difficult time getting your 3 inches, like that's not really 3 inches, that's about 15. But my point is, you can use the club. The width of a golf club is about 3 inches. So if I move my foot and then I tuck the club in there, notice the club is touching the inside of one foot and the inside of the other foot. That would be approximately 3 inches. So again, I'm going to move my front foot 3 inches towards the target. And then I'm going to take my back foot, I'm going to put it wherever I feel comfortable. There is no right or wrong way to where you put your back foot. The width is irrelevant. Some people like a narrow stance, and they only move their back foot a little bit. Other people like a little wider stance. They move their back foot a little bit more. But the ball is still going to be located 3 inches inside my front heel, because that's where the club's going to come in the straightest, no matter how wide my stance is. Doesn't matter in relationship to my front foot. My suggestion is, as the clubs get a little longer, you maybe should make your stance a little wider. Reason being is you're going to generate a lot more centrifugal force and a lot more speed, where if your stance is kind of narrow, it may knock you off your balance. So the wider the club, maybe a little wider stance. But again, it's totally comfortable. If you like it narrow the whole time, great. If you like it wide the whole time, it works too. Just make sure the ball is located towards the inside of your front foot. So let's review. I'm going to walk up to the ball, put my feet together with the ball in the middle, move my front foot 3 inches towards the target, and then put my back foot wherever I feel comfortable. The suggestion I'm going to make is that the distance between your front foot and the target line and your back foot and the target line are the same. I want my feet to be equal distance away from the target line. I don't want to take my front foot and pull it back farther away from the target line. I don't want to put it closer to the target line, closing my stance. Some players choose to do this because they hit a little ball that slices, which starts straight and moves to the right. They close their stance. That helps them a little with their slice. But what will happen is that will kind of kill your distance a little bit because you can't really release the club because you're locking your hips up. And when we talk about how to make the ball go where you want it to go in one of the other videos, I'll teach you how to be able to control your hips in relation to the club, and you can hit the ball where you want to. But let's start with like a neutral stance, okay, where everything's the same, nothing's open, nothing's closed, just keep everything straight to the target line. All right, so that'll be your basic grip and your basic stance with ball position. Let's talk about distance away from it, which again is one of the main reasons why people either hit the ball thin or they hit the ball fat. They do that because they're usually in the wrong position where they start. Now it's scary that people will take lessons and lessons and lessons, and most of the time what we're correcting is how they start. Because once the swing is being made, there's only a couple things that could go wrong with the swing. Most of the problems happen in how you address it. And it doesn't take any knowledge or physical ability to be able to address the ball properly. Most people are just doing it wrong. So we're going to teach you how to do it right. So distance away from the ball. Now, if you have a full set of clubs, you notice a couple things in the clubs. This is a 9-iron, 8-iron, 7-iron. You notice what's happening here, right? 6-iron. Each club's going up a half-inch distance than the next. They're each a half-inch longer than the club before. So the pitching wedge would be shorter, sand wedge would be shorter, putter sometimes would even be shorter. So what's happening is the clubs get longer as you move up the line. So if I took, say, my 4-iron now, I got a 9-iron and a 4-iron, you notice that the 4-iron is substantially longer than the 9-iron, right? So what happens is, as the clubs get longer, you got to move a little farther away from the ball. And most of the time, people do this on guess. They just get up there, they feel comfortable, and that's it. That's where they start. Okay? There is a way that you can do it where it takes all the guesswork out of it. And I'm going to turn sideways to you so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So first, we'll start with the ball location, feet together, move your front foot 3 inches, put your back foot wherever you want to. Now, to get your distance away from it, let's use the club head and let's use the club shaft to determine how far you stand. So if you've laid the club head down with the ball in the middle, not near the toe and not near the heel, but in the middle of the club face, you take the top of the club and you move it towards your front leg, and that club should touch you about 3 inches above your knee. Or if you have pants with pockets, right below your pocket. If I put my hand in my pocket, it's going to be right below my pocket. And that would work with every club that I have. So if I pull something a little longer out, let's say a 3-wood, which as you can tell is substantially longer than my 9-iron, I would set up the same way with my 3 inches, but now look where the club touches me. I'm going to have to move a little farther back until the club touches me 3 inches from the inside of above my knee. And that would give me the right distance to get away from the ball, so I'm not hitting it in the wrong spot. If I make a mistake, and I set up to the ball, and I'm really close to the ball, look how far up that my leg that touches me, almost near my hip. When I go to try to make a golf swing, I'm going to hit way behind the ball. I'm going to hit the ball fat. And if you're someone that's hitting the golf ball kind of behind it, one of the easiest ways to make sure you don't do that is just to make sure you get a little farther away from the ball. It could be too close. And same thing, a lot of people get up, they go, I feel really comfortable from here. And then I ask them to do their touch test, and the club doesn't even touch their leg at all. It misses their leg. So what's happened is they're a little too far away from the ball. When they make a swing, instead of the club bottoming underneath the ball, it hits the top of it, and they hit those top shots that kind of start and then dive down to the ground. What's happening, again, just too far away from the ball. So if you use your touch test in order to determine how far away from the ball, you would be able to get in a nice position every time. So that's a good way to get your distance away from the ball. So now you have your ball location, which is going to be the same 3 inches inside your front heel with every club. Your distance away from it is going to be determined by the club shaft and length. All right? Do a little touch test. And once you have those two things, let's talk a little bit about the rest of the setup. Let's talk about our hands. We're going to take our setup and we're going to move our hands back to the middle of our stance. And we're going to take our grip. We're basically going to just let our hands hang directly from our shoulders. We're not going to press them forward like this. We're going to let everything start in the middle of our body. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to create two triangles. A triangle with our legs and a triangle with our arms and our shoulders. And these two triangles we want to meet in the middle. We don't want to put a different angle in here. We got one triangle and one, I'm not even sure what angle this is. We want everything to be in the middle and everything to meet in the middle, and that's kind of where we start from. Now, as far as posture goes, right, we want you to feel comfortable. Let's talk about an athletic position. Just about every sport has an athletic position. If you play tennis, you're not going to receive the serve with your feet locked up and not moving. You're going to be kind of in a nice, comfortable position to be able to receive a serve. If you're a baseball player and you're looking to get into the batter's box, I mean, there's different ways that they stand and put their feet and where they put their hands. Most of the times they have a little bend in their legs, right? Their weight's distributed properly, and they're in a comfortable position. Golf the same way, right? When you're addressing the golf ball, we want you to be in a nice, comfortable position with a little bit of flex in your legs, with your weight entirely distributed around your entire foot. You don't want to be sitting with your weight towards your heels. You don't want to be sitting with your weight towards your toes during the swing. You want your weight to be equally distributed around the entire foot in a nice, athletic, comfortable position. And that's all we're looking for you to do to start. So you get your grip, you get your nice, athletic position, and there you go, you're pretty much set up, ready to hit a golf ball. Talk a little bit about the swing. We're not going to go crazy on this, but let's talk about it. As I take the club away, all right, taking it away with my hands and my shoulders, I'm creating a straight line with my shaft and my arms, and I get the club about waist high. At this point, the club's going to start to go up to the top of my swing. Normally at this point, I start creating a little angle with my wrists and my shaft. That's going to help me create lag, and we'll talk about lag in another video. And then we're going to go up to wherever we feel comfortable. A lot of people think they have to get that club really straight up at the top of their swing. Notice how straight it is over my head. Some people even get the club all the way over to here. But if you don't have that type of flexibility, you're not going to be able to get to that point. So don't try to. It's irrelevant. That's not going to make you hit it farther or straighter if you go longer in the golf swing. It doesn't work that way. You go to wherever your flexibility and wherever you're comfortable. That's very important when you get up to the top of your golf swing. Sometimes that's the top of my golf swing. That's about as much flexibility as I have. I can't get this hand, this arm to go all the way back. I can see the guys on tour. I don't have that type of flexibility, so I'm not going to try to get there. I'm going to go to wherever I feel comfortable. I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to work on transitioning to my downswing. And we'll talk about that when we talk about creating lag and how to start the downswing. But basically, when you get your setup and you're ready to go, you take the club back with your arms about waist high, and you're going to create an angle, and you're going to take the club up to the top, wherever the top may be for you. It may be higher for younger, more flexible guys. It may be less for a little older and non-flexible guys. But wherever you get to the club at the top, that's where you're going to start the downswing. If you have any questions, you guys have my cell phone. You're more than welcome to call me directly. Leave me a message, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you and explain everything that we just talked about in the video. The video I'm making now is for Rockland Community College students, so we do have an assignment on 331. This is the video for the 331 assignment. All right? Thank you very much. Have a great day.